China bans young people from playing video games. This is for kids who are under the age of 18. They are now restricted from playing games on weekdays, can only play for 3 hours most weekends.
China sets new rules for young kids playing video games, limiting play to 3 hours a week and only on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays.
Gaming addiction has affected studies and normal life, and many parents have become miserable.
From around 2000 to 2014, China actually banned the sale of video game consoles. This is what allowed the proliferation of mobile games and specifically free-to-play games. In China, 95% of the games are free-to-play, which means that they actually make their money through microtransactions. So there's an incentive here to make video games as addictive as possible.
And these were set as a response to China's physical and mental health being affected by gaming, according to Reuters.
I think they're doing what all American parents would want our government to do for our kids. This is the only thing I've ever said that would make me want to move to China. This one rule thing I've ever heard. What are our kids going to get in jail if we were Chinese right now and they played video games? How many months are they going to get?
Basically, I think you would do harder time. Gamers are now penalized if they don't obey, and the gaming companies will be as well. Gaming companies will have to prove they have an identification system in place, like requiring monitors to use their real names.
Do you know how fucking hard it is? I have 3 kids in that age range. I am sweating who they're texting, who they're talking to, what game they're playing, the new game they want to download. Fuck that. This is the only thing I've ever said that would make me want to move to China. This one rule is the most incredible thing I've ever heard, and they're so smart. By the way, what's so beautiful is they send fentanyl and TikTok to us so that we get addicted to that shit.
Totally.
You guys are going to learn STEM so that you can, take over the world. It's beautiful. It's brilliant. The consequences is to the Chinese internet companies.
No, what's the consequence to the kids if they're caught on video games?
No, you're not.
The companies have to turn it off. Right.
This is like, I'll be a dissenting voice here. This is like if we had given Tipper Gore dictatorial powers. I mean, this is insane. They're gonna determine how many hours a kid can play video games. I mean, look, I get the potential benefit, but this is incredibly intrusive into the lives of citizens, and I'm not sure that video game playing is altogether a negative thing. I think it's mostly our kids go through a phase where they play a lot of games and they grow out of it. And, you talk to developers, computer programmers, they all went through some phase where they were like hyper addicted to video games. It, builds hand-eye coordination. It builds computer literacy. So I'm not sure it's like, look, obviously if someone does nothing but computer games their whole life, that's a problem. But as a phase that a kid goes through, it's not the end of the world.
I agree with you, because I used to play 3 hours of fucking Zelda a day when I came home. Because I was a latchkey kid and I didn't have anybody to take care of me. I don't think, David, though, that's what kids are getting when they're playing 4 hours of fucking Call of Duty every night.
4 hours? And these kids are playing 10 hours. We are literally sitting here fighting. There is a group of individuals who are fighting to wear masks, or not have to wear masks, rather, not have to take the vaccine. And at the same time, and I don't know if we want to go there,
I think China has another motivation for this ban, which is they've got a lot of, because of the one-child policy, right? They've got a radical misbalance of, male to female ratio. They've got a lot of young males without romantic prospects in that country. Basically, they have an incel problem.
They have a ton of incels.
It's a giant incel problem. And I don't think we hear much about it because they control the media. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of just random violence out there. And the last thing they want to do is have these incels playing Fortnite and Call of Duty, shooting people 5 hours a night, and then getting their brains wired that way. That might be playing into this decision. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, you're just validating the mental health aspect. They've studied the mental health implications of these video games.
And I think I'm not arguing for the ban. I'm arguing for the fact that China has certainly done something to indicate, they have some data that indicates why they should make this decision. It may be, you're right, it may be about kind of, growing, getting people to be more romantic and get out of the house and go get married and have kids and whatnot. But there's certainly and remember, their objective function is always about longevity and economic prosperity. So, there's something that's making them say that we can increase economic prosperity, increase longevity by doing this. And that outweighs whatever the detrimental social and other effects might be. And I think there's something to read into it. But no matter what, every big decision they make has some degree of competitive advantage for them. And those kids, if they're not playing video games, they're going to be doing something else, like, I don't know, programming computers, doing biotechnology in a lab, figuring stuff out on the internet, writing the next cryptocurrency. I don't know, but there's going to be some advantage that's going to arise out of the time and the productivity that's going to be generated by this. And I think that's the calculus that they're undertaking here. I'm not saying it's right or wrong.
No, we all agree they're thoughtful. The question is, what is this going to do for this generation if they don't play video games? Are they going to be more productive? Are they going to be,
they'll be good drones for the collective,
I would say, like, everything about China is a measured decision, right? The Politburo, the decision makers are not sitting there randomly shooting from the hip based on intuition and saying, hey, I think we should stop video games. They seem bad for kids. There is clearly evidence and data and statistical models that are driving this decision, and their objective function is improve the health, the longevity, and the economic prosperity of our society as a whole. These guys generally don't make decisions based on someone's kind of like flippant intuition. They make decisions based on what they believe to be in the better interest. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but in the better interest of economic prosperity and longevity. They got a 100-year plan,
let's be honest.
And so there's
they want
data
to
that
win
certainly
humanity.
underlies this. Yeah. And I think we all know it intuitively. We can certainly read reports, but in the United States, we value individual liberties above all else. And so we don't find ourselves in the circumstance. It seems foreign and scary and crazy. But again, it's another, in my opinion, it's another tool.
Yes, that's true. But let's be clear. We don't value individual liberties. That's not true. That's just what we tell people. But that's not totally true. And you know that.
That's the downside here, is even if they get it right in this particular case, how much freedom do you have to give up? How much state surveillance is there in the enforcement? And how many other insane policies will they foist on people with this mentality of, you don't get to live your life individually, you got to serve this collective?
Actually, I think your best point, Sax, is that I think what could happen here is you can overplay a hand, and by squeezing people too tightly, you can't play video games, you can't run your own companies, you're going to get replaced, you can't practice your own religion, you can't say what you want, be a journalist. These things could add up, and they could, piss off a young group of people who do what happened in Tiananmen Square or in Hong Kong, and they could be dealing with, their own revolution. And what if it's video games? Revolutions have started over similarly, seemingly simple acts by an authoritarian government, taking away people's right to sell fruit on the street. Famously started the Spring Awakening in the Middle East. So you could see this actually. I think maybe it's a small chance, 5% or 10%. Creating a lot of social unrest.